Part 1. Foundation. Apply strategic thinking to trading to break out of reactive trading and reactive living and start designing your life with intention. Let's start with a blunt truth. Trading won't give you the life you want if you only treat it as a money-making tool. Trading truly changes your life only when you use it as a training ground for strategic thinking. Then what you gain isn't just profit, it's a decision-making system capable of steering your entire life in a direction you consciously choose. Many people trade in a reactive mindset. The market moves, they react. Price accelerates, they fear missing out. They lose one trade, they want revenge. They win one trade, they want to double down. That isn't trading. That is living in a state of being dragged around by circumstances. And if you look closely, you'll see the same structure in daily life. Seeing others succeed makes you restless. Facing difficulty makes you panic. Getting a small advantage makes you overextend too fast. It's not because you lack knowledge, it's because you lack strategic thinking. Applying strategic thinking to trading means you stop asking short-term questions like, will this trade win? And start asking life design questions. For example, is this decision moving me closer to or farther from the life I want to live? Does it make me freer, or does it tie me tighter to pressure, emotion, and instability? A trade is no longer a gamble, it becomes a brick in the structure of the life you're building. Strategic thinking in trading begins with understanding this. The quality of decisions matters more than the quantity of decisions. You don't need to trade a lot to live well. You need to trade the right way so you don't destroy yourself. When you apply this, you begin designing a different lifestyle. You're no longer forced to stare at screens all day. You stop letting the market's heartbeat decide your own. You start filtering opportunities the same way you filter relationships, commitments, and goals in your life. A strategic trader understands the concept of stacking decisions. A good decision in trading is one that creates more good options in the future. A very concrete example: reducing position size today won't make you rich immediately, but it helps you preserve clarity, preserve capital, and preserve your ability to keep playing tomorrow. That is exactly how you should view every decision in life. A decision to take care of your health, a decision to learn a foundational skill, a decision to step away from a toxic environment. None of these offer instant rewards, but they create positioning that opens more doors in your future. When you apply strategic thinking to trading, you begin seeing the market as a probability system, not a place to prove yourself. And when you stop trying to prove you're right, you free up an enormous amount of mental energy. That energy doesn't just help you trade better, it helps you live differently. You no longer need to beat other people. You only need not to betray yourself. You don't need to be ahead of someone today. You need to move closer to the version of life you've chosen. One extremely important thing trading teaches, if you're willing to learn, is this: you can't control outcomes, but you can control process. Strategic thinking focuses on process. In trading, that's your entry process: risk management, exits, and review. In life, that's the process by which you make choices every day. How you choose to wake up, what information you choose to consume, who you choose to give time to, whether you choose to react or think before acting. When the process is optimized, results gradually follow, even though they never move in a straight line. Applying strategic thinking to trading also means you stop searching for certainty. You understand uncertainty is the default state, not a flaw to fix. In trading, you don't wait for perfect clarity to enter, because by then, the opportunity is gone. You learn to act under imperfect conditions, with risk under control. When you bring this into life, you stop delaying important decisions just because you're afraid of being wrong. You don't wait until you feel ready to change. You create a structure that lets you test, learn, adjust, and continue. A strategic trader doesn't optimize for one big winning trade. They optimize for surviving long enough for their edge to play out. Life is the same. The life you want isn't built through emotional breakthroughs, it's built through the ability to sustain the right choices over time. When you use trading as a place to train this, you develop a rare foundational skill: the ability to make good decisions even when you don't have positive emotions supporting you. Ultimately, when you truly apply strategic thinking to trading, you'll notice a subtle but deep shift. You stop letting life happen to you. You start designing it. Every trade becomes a practice rep for intentional living. Every time you stay out of the market because conditions aren't right, You strengthen your ability to say no to things that don't serve your long-term vision. And from those small decisions, day after day, the life you want stops being a vague dream and becomes an inevitable result of how you think and choose. Part 2. Risk management. Use stop-loss thinking, protect capital, and survive long-term in trading to design a life that doesn't self-destruct: health, energy, personal boundaries. If you had to choose one concept in trading that can change your life the most, it wouldn't be entry strategy, it would be risk management. Risk management in trading, understood correctly, is not fear of losing. It's the art of designing the game so you cannot be knocked out by one mistake. And that is the foundation for building a sustainable life, one that doesn't destroy itself because of momentary emotion. Traders without strategic thinking often ask, how much can I make on this trade? Mature traders ask a completely different question. How much can I lose if I'm wrong? And will I still be able to keep playing afterward? The difference sounds small, but it transforms the way you live. When you bring the second question into life, you start viewing every decision with clarity. If this fails, what is the cost? And can I recover? Many people in real life live like traders with no risk management. They bet too big on one source of income. They pour their entire emotional world into one relationship. They sacrifice health for years to trade it for money, with a vague belief that later I'll make it up. These are decisions without a stop-loss. When things go wrong, they don't just lose outcomes. They lose the ability to make clear decisions afterward. Applying strategic thinking from trading into life begins with learning to set stop-losses for yourself. A stop-loss in life isn't quitting. It's a boundary of self-respect, the point where you say, this is enough. Beyond this, I will self-destruct. A job that drains you mentally and physically needs a clear risk threshold. A bad habit needs a specific limit. A relationship that consistently erodes you needs a predefined exit line, not one discovered only after it's too late. In trading, you can't control the market, but you can always control position size. In life, you can't control circumstances, but you can control the degree of your exposure. You may not choose where you were born, but you can choose how much sacrifice you accept. You can choose how much time, energy, and health you're willing to trade for a goal. When you start thinking this way, you stop living in whatever happens mode, and you begin living like someone designing life with intention. Risk management also teaches a hard but crucial lesson. Not every opportunity is worth participating in. Inexperienced traders see opportunity everywhere. Strategic traders see risk everywhere. And because they see risk clearly, they filter for better opportunities. Bring that into life, and you realize not every invitation should be accepted. Not every open door should be walked through. Not every opportunity fits the life you're trying to build. The life you want isn't built by saying yes to everything. It's built by saying no to many things that don't serve your long-term goal. Trading trains your ability to tolerate the feeling of missing out. You sit out a trade that looks tempting, and you don't die. The market is still there. Another opportunity will come. Once this truly sinks in, FOMO in life also loses its power. You stop chasing other people's pace. You start living by the rhythm of the system you built. A core principle of risk management is protecting capital matters more than growing capital. In life, your capital isn't just money. It's health, clarity, self-trust, and your ability to make good decisions. If a choice makes you more money but costs you chronic insomnia, destroys your clarity, and disconnects you from yourself strategically, that's a losing trade, even if it looks like a win on the surface. Strategic traders always prioritize survival. They accept slower profits in exchange for sustainability. When you apply that to life, you stop forcing fast success. You build a pace that allows learning, adjustment, and continuation. You don't need a breakthrough in 1 year if the cost is collapse in the second. You choose slower, but long enough so the life you want has time to form. Ultimately, risk management teaches a freeing idea. A mistake is not a disaster if it is capped. When you understand this, you become more willing to experiment in trading and in life. You don't need 100% certainty before acting. You only need to know that if you're wrong, you will still stand. That psychological state is the real foundation for building the life you want, not through recklessness, but through calculated courage. Part 3. Systems and Probability. Thinking escape emotional living, stop judging yourself by single outcomes, and build a sustainable life system. When a trader truly starts to mature, a crucial shift happens. They stop seeing trading as a sequence of personal wins and losses, and start seeing it as a probability game run by a system. From that moment, emotional pressure drops, clarity increases, and decisions become cleaner. This is the key bridge for applying strategic trading thinking to building the life you want. In trading, a single trade means nothing. It's only a data point in a very long series. When you understand this, you stop attaching excessive emotion to each outcome. You don't call yourself stupid because of one losing trade, and you don't call yourself a genius because of one winner. You start measuring yourself by how well you follow the system, not by the random outcome of a single decision. Life needs the same shift. Many people burn out because they judge their entire worth based on one isolated event. One failure at work makes them label themselves not good enough. One breakup makes them believe I'm unworthy. That's single trade thinking applied to life. When you bring system thinking from trading into life, you start seeing each event as part of a long journey. A bad day no longer defines your whole life. A wrong decision doesn't erase your value. Probability thinking teaches a very practical truth. You can do everything right and still lose, and you can do many things wrong and still win. Once you understand this, you stop demanding perfect fairness from the world. You stop asking, "Why haven't I been rewarded yet?" and start asking, "Am I repeating advantage-based behaviors long enough?" That is a strategic question, not an emotional one. Applying this to life means you begin building small systems instead of relying on motivation. You don't wait for inspiration to act. You design an environment where doing the right thing becomes easier. In trading, you don't depend on emotions to stay disciplined, you depend on rules. In life, you don't depend on willpower to live well, you depend on structure. A system-based trader knows exactly what they do before, during, and after each trade. They have a preparation process, an execution process, and a review process. When you apply this to life, you stop living on impulse. You build stable routines. You create fixed time for learning, rest, and reflection. Not because you're rigid, but because you understand stability is the foundation for long-term creativity and growth. System thinking also helps you separate yourself from outcomes. You stop tying your human value to the equity curve. When you bring this into life, you stop tying your value to status, income, or external approval. You judge yourself by your consistency in living according to the vision you chose. That creates a deep calm, something no short-term success can replace. Another key piece of probability thinking is accepting losing streaks. A trader who can't tolerate losing streaks will eventually destroy their own system. Life has similar phases. There are stretches where you do everything right, but results still don't show up. If you look at life with single trade thinking, you will get discouraged, change direction constantly, and doubt yourself. But if you look through systems thinking, you understand losing streaks are unavoidable in any journey with an edge. Once you truly internalize this, you develop a rare inner strength, the ability to keep doing the right thing even when rewards haven't appeared yet. That is the foundation of the life you want. Not because you see results immediately, but because you trust the structure you built. Just like a trader trusts the system after hundreds or thousands of trades, you trust your path after thousands of small decisions each day. Finally, system thinking frees you from the need to constantly decide. In trading, you don't reinvent everything each time the market opens, you let the system work. In life, you can do the same. You reduce mental load by standardizing repeated choices. You don't have to fight yourself every day to live right. You let structure support you. Part 4. Positioning and Edge. Thinking trading teaches you how to choose the game, the role, and the arena where you have an advantage, so you can design a career, finances, and lifestyle aligned with your nature. One of the biggest differences between traders who survive long-term and those who stay stuck lies in something most people overlook: positioning. Beginner traders keep asking, "Where should I enter?" Strategic traders ask, "What position am I in within this game?" And that question, when brought into real life, can completely change how you build your career, finances, and lifestyle. In trading, your edge doesn't come from being smarter than the market. It comes from choosing setups where the structure is slightly tilted in your favor. You don't need to win every trade. You only need to consistently place yourself in situations where, if you're right, you gain more than you lose. And if you're wrong, you still survive. That is positioning. And applied to life, it helps you escape a common trap, competing where you have no advantage. Many people are exhausted not because they're incapable, but because they're playing the wrong game. They choose environments where success standards don't match who they are. They chase a definition of success designed for someone else. Like a trader trying to scalp when their temperament fits swing trading, they keep blaming themselves for not being good enough, when the real problem is they're standing in the wrong position. Trading teaches a blunt lesson. The market doesn't reward effort, it rewards edge. You can work extremely hard and be very intelligent, but without an edge, long-term results still work against you. Life is similar. Effort matters, but effort in the wrong place produces burnout. Strategic thinking forces you to step back and ask, where do I have a natural advantage, or where can I build one over time? A position-based trader doesn't try to be present in every market, every time frame, every condition. They filter. They accept missing out. And that missing out lets them focus energy on the best fit situations. When you bring this into life, you stop trying to become good at everything. You start building life around what you do best, or what you can become best at if you invest long enough. In trading, edge can come from boring things: better discipline, more patience, tighter risk management. No genius required, no secret required. In life, your advantage might be simple too: deep focus, long-term stamina, honest communication, or the ability to learn slowly but solidly. When you design your career and lifestyle around these edges, you stop forcing yourself to keep up with others. Positioning also teaches something important. You shouldn't always be in the market. The highest edge trader is not the one who trades the most, but the one who knows when to stay out. Staying out isn't fear, it's understanding the current position has no advantage. In life, that means knowing when to stop expanding, stop proving, stop chasing goals that no longer align with your long-term vision. When you apply this, you design a different rhythm. You stop cramming your schedule just to look busy. You create space to observe, think, and adjust your position. Like a trader waiting for price to reach a clean zone, you wait for the right conditions before committing deeply. And paradoxically, that waiting helps you move faster long-term. A deep truth of positioning is, you don't need to beat others, you only need to win your own game. In trading, you're not directly competing with anyone. The market doesn't know you exist. You're competing only with your own ability to stay disciplined. Life is the same. When you stop comparing and stop chasing other people's pace, you free up huge mental energy. That energy is used to build depth, not to race on the surface. Positioning also changes how you view money. Money stops being a measure of your worth and becomes a tool for creating safer future positioning. You don't try to maximize income at any cost. You build financial structure that gives you options. Just like keeping drawdown low gives you room to recover in trading, keeping living costs reasonable gives you room for freedom in life. When you truly apply this strategic thinking, you realize the life you want isn't found by doing more, it's found by standing in the right place. You don't need to become some perfect version of yourself. You only need to become someone who chooses the right position, the right game, and stays long enough for the edge to compound. Part 5. Stacking decisions and time. Use compounding, patience, and asymmetric payoff thinking to build the future. No prediction required, just the right positioning. When a trader goes far enough, they discover a quiet but heavy truth. Big results don't come from big hits. They come from not breaking the chain of small decisions. That's the essence of compounding, and it's the most important bridge for using trading thinking to build a future without needing to predict it. Beginner traders chase the trade of a lifetime. One huge winner to change everything. One fast streak to prove they're right. Strategic traders think differently. They know a good system only needs a small edge repeated long enough with risk controlled. They don't need the market to favor them. They only need time to be on their side. And once you internalize this, your view of life changes at the root. Your life today isn't the result of one big decision in the past. It's the result of thousands of small decisions repeated daily. How you sleep, how you spend, how you react under stress, how you choose avoidance or confrontation. All of it is compounding, whether you're aware of it or not. Trading just reveals the compounding process faster and more clearly, because the market doesn't let you hide from consequences for long. Stacking decisions is the core of strategic thinking. A good decision doesn't have to change your life immediately. It only has to make the next decision easier to do right. When you cut a loss according to plan today, you stack trust in your system. When you don't trade in bad conditions, you stack clarity. When you keep size small, you stack survival. And those small things, repeated long enough, create differences outsiders mistake as luck. Bring this into life, and you stop chasing dramatic turning points. You start caring about trajectory, not where you are today, but the direction you're moving. Reading a little each day. Keeping a small promise to yourself. Not reacting immediately when emotions rise. These don't feel like success, but they are quietly steering your future. Trading teaches patience that is not passive waiting. It's structured patience. You don't sit there hoping. You prepare. You define conditions. You wait for the right time. And when it arrives, you act decisively. The life you want requires the same kind of patience. Not delaying out of fear, but knowing that acting early under the wrong conditions ruins long-term compounding. A trader who understands compounding won't destroy the system because of a few losses. They know breaking discipline is the fastest way to reverse accumulated edge. Life is the same. Many people don't fail from lack of effort. They fail because they break their compounding chain through impulsive decisions. One-time quitting, one-time returning to old habits, one-time compromising on what they know is wrong. Each time doesn't just erase progress, it weakens trust in themselves. Strategic thinking helps you see time as an ally, not an enemy. Beginners fear time because they want results now. Mature traders respect time because they know edge needs time to show itself. Apply this to life, and you stop punishing yourself with, "Why am I not there yet?" You start asking, "Am I moving in the right direction, and do I have the patience to stay on this path?" A deep truth about compounding. It is unforgiving to repeated wrong decisions. A small mistake, repeated, can destroy the whole system. Trading forces you to be honest about self-sabotaging behaviors. Overtrading, revenge trading, breaking risk not technical errors, but perception errors. Life has the same versions: chronic overwork, avoiding hard conversations, emotional spending, living misaligned with your values. If you don't identify and stop them, compounding will do the rest against the future you want. When you truly understand stacking decisions, you stop obsessing over being right immediately. You just need to be right long enough. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You only need each day not to betray the system you chose. And over time, that loyalty creates a life others call effortlessly achieved. Ultimately, compounding teaches a humble lesson. The future doesn't need to be predicted, it needs to be prepared. You don't have to know exactly where you'll be in 10 years. You only have to know whether today's decisions are tilting the scale toward the life you want. When you use trading as a daily training ground for this, you're building the future in the most sustainable way possible. Quiet, not dramatic, but extremely certain. Part 6. Trading as a mental training camp, from reacting to life to designing an entire ecosystem for the life you want. Integrating all strategic thinking into a complete living system. When you look back on this entire journey, one thing becomes clear. Trading was never just about money. Trading is a compressed environment where every weakness in your decision-making gets magnified and every hidden strength gets revealed quickly. If you treat trading only as a way to make money, it will drain you. But if you treat trading as a training camp for strategic thinking, it can become the foundation for building the life you want. At this point, you stop asking, "How do I trade better?" in the usual sense. The question becomes, how do I become the kind of person who can consistently make good decisions in trading and in life? And when the question changes, the answer changes too. You stop hunting for new strategies. You stop chasing formulas. You turn inward to build the system within you. Trading taught you, you don't need to be right to win. You only need a structure strong enough to be wrong without getting knocked out. Bring that into life, and you stop living in fear of being imperfect. You allow yourself to test, learn, and adjust, not with resignation, but with a clear system that protects you from major self-destruction. You also learn, decisions matter more than outcomes. A correct decision with a bad outcome is still a correct decision. A wrong decision with a lucky outcome is still a wrong decision. Apply this to life, and you start judging yourself by a more mature standard. You stop letting a good or bad day define your worth. You look at how you think, how you respond, and how well you hold your principles under pressure. All the strategic thinking you trained through trading begins connecting naturally. Vision guides decisions. Decisions shape environment. Environment nurtures habits. Habits create results. Results reinforce vision. These aren't separate concepts anymore. They become a living loop you can observe and adjust daily. At the deepest level, trading teaches full responsibility for your life. No blaming the market. No blaming circumstances. No blaming others. After a loss, you review the decision structure. When a life phase feels unstable, you review your living system. Same mindset, same attitude. And that produces a different kind of inner power. You also realize freedom doesn't come from avoiding risk. It comes from managing risk well enough to have choices. Freedom in trading is the right to stay out when conditions aren't right. Freedom in life is the right to say no to things that don't serve your long-term vision. Once you have choice, you're no longer dragged by emotion, social pressure, or fear of missing out. By now, the life you want is no longer a vague picture in your head. It becomes a logical consequence of how you live each day. You don't need extreme motivation, you need a good enough system. You don't need to predict the future. You need to create positions that remain stable even if the future turns out differently. Just like in trading, you don't know which trade will win, but you know that if you keep following the system, long-term results will lean in your favor. And here is the final connection, the most important point. Your life is the most important strategic project you will ever manage. Everything else is just a component. Work, money, relationships, health, time, creativity, they're all variables inside one system. When you bring mature trading thinking into designing that system, you stop living passively. You become the designer. From this moment on, every small decision matters, not because it will change everything immediately, but because it is tilting your life's trajectory in a certain direction. You don't need to do extraordinary things. You need to do the right things, long enough, in a system that doesn't self-destruct. Trading used correctly won't just give you profit, it gives you a brain that thinks strategically. And when you have that, you're no longer just a player in life's game. You become the designer of the game itself.